Thank you all for joining us. There's some other folks coming, but we are live streaming on YouTube as well, so we want, and on LinkedIn. So we want to make sure that everyone gets started on time. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate it. There's a lot of things happening in London in our industry, and we are very happy that you chose to be here at the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust Meetup. We have an amazing agenda today. Once again, if you want to let people know that we're live streaming, you can just search that QR code. Respectful collaboration starts here. We always say all are welcome in our community, and we want to make sure that everybody feels that they can have a place to discuss. Quick couple of things, all Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust meetups and other types of events are held under our antitrust policy, as well as our code of conduct. So if you have any questions, you can see the full policy there. And this session is being recorded and will be available on YouTube after the fact. So thank you to the speakers for participating and having us have that content. Just very quickly on the agenda, we're going to have a welcome from David Palmer, who's the Chief Product Officer at Pairpoint. Then we are going to have just a quick update on Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust, and I'll take you through all the questions that you might have about what we've been working on. And then very exciting presentation from Gareth Williams, who is at GSMA around Telco stablecoin development. For those of you who did not read the paper that we linked on the Meetup, very interesting topic, and I'm very excited to hear Gareth talk about it. And then last but not least, we're going to have Tony McLaughlin talk about UBYX, which has taken me all day to say correctly. I have a little bit of dyslexia, so UBYX, but it's fantastic. I've known Tony for many, many years as well, and it's really amazing to see all the activity that's happening in the stablecoin world. I'm calling it stablecoin summer. It's a hot, hot stablecoin summer. Everywhere you go, people want to talk about stablecoins and tokenization as well. And then we'll spend some time networking at the end. We have some snacks for everyone to enjoy and really talk about what do we want to do next in London. There's a really growing and big and active community. How can we as a community work together on that as well? So once again, welcome everyone. And we are going to go over to David, and then I'll switch over my computer. Is that all? Okay, great. And Tomasz, I'll be on Slack if something goes wrong.
Sorry about this. Normally we would get the slides beforehand and change it. But, you mind if you go old-fashioned way? Okay. Okay, so first of all, welcome to everyone. This is the first meetup that I've held in our offices, so hopefully everyone is comfortable. This is our B Labs. It opened maybe 5 years ago, so hopefully everyone's comfortable. And we're just really looking forward to some discussion today on the hot topic, which is stablecoins. Right? The Genius Act is going to unleash a lot of activity here. And I was on the way in this morning, and I sort of had a picture in my head about, because yesterday I had to make a purchase, and I had to do ABA routing and different things from different banks. And I was just thinking, okay, so you've got this complicated route here where you're using intermediaries and routing and different things. Then you've got stable coins and wallets and addresses, which could essentially unleash a world of peer-to-peer transactions, which we're starting to see already. But in the background, there's still the complexity. So I think the case for stable coins and the use of stable coins is going to increase dramatically. And I think it will affect all industries, including telcos, right? So you sort of
essentially unleash a world peer-to-peer transactions.
Yeah. So I think if we look at it, real world asset tokenization, 600 billion, stable coins, we're expecting 3.7 trillion in terms of the market cap for that in by 2030, and then DeFi is increasing. And I think stable coins will be part of this new financial infrastructure that's being built for this new financial world, and we want to be a part of it. Just a word on what we're doing at Pairpoint. It's all about connecting devices with SIM cards, connected devices two blockchains, two AI platforms. And that positions us to play a role, we believe, in the stablecoin world. And this is sort of a picture I drew maybe 6 months ago, which looks, at the whole picture of how all the elements are coming together. CBDC seem to have gone quiet, although a lot of European countries are still talking about it. But since January, and we all know what happened in January, I won't name it, but we've had a rush for stablecoins and a rush for currency dominance via stablecoins. So, we've also got tokenized deposits with banks. My friend Michael from Pillar, we did a project with MasterCard MTN platform last year, looking at how we could essentially use tokenized deposits in an asset as a service EV charging use case. And that's still there. And if you look at it, CBDCs and now stablecoins are how you will get macroeconomic policy on money supply and interest rates, etc., into the token economy. Tokenized deposits allow you to use the existing vehicle of banks to get into the token economy. And then you have all sorts of models for finance and payments, DePINs, Web3 asset as a service, which we work on, DeFi, and other RWA to make it. So that's how we see it. We think wallets will be a key part linking to AI and stablecoins for more streamlined payments. And we see all of these things coming together, into a new AI driven economy, where I think stablecoins will be a key part of it. So I've just whizzed through some slides there. Won't look at any more. But I'm really excited about today. Welcome everyone, all the views, whether you're from a bank, whether you're from a Web3 company, whether you're from a startup or an established organization like the GSMA. Really looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Would you like to introduce?
No. So I'd like to introduce Gareth. So Vodafone, Pairpoint, we're a telecoms company. The body that basically links all of us, we're all members of, is called the GSMA. And Gareth has been a champion of blockchain, Web3 for the GSMA. He directs the
Distributed Technology Group.
Yeah, so blockchain. We won't use distributed. Yeah, blockchain group, and we're actually working with Gareth on an exciting use case as well. So I'd like to. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome Gareth to give us a talk on stablecoins. There was a paper that was done a few years ago, and Gareth has been sort of championing this. So welcome, Gareth.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Let me sort out the technical side of it.
Yeah, got to do the technical changeover.
Yeah. It's technical, isn't it? Is that going to work?
It's got a presentation.
So that's presentation. Sorry. Extend. 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 Yep. Oh, yep. That's okay. Well, then. Okay. Sorry about that. Hi. Yeah, I'm Gareth. Work for the GSMA. As David said, that's the trade body for the telecoms industry. I've been there for about 3 years, and I'm a technical architect. That's my job description. But one of the things I've run is the blockchain working group, which is where the telcos send people who are interested in blockchain and the associated technologies that go with it. And we discuss and try and work and try and push it in the industry, like MW Barcelona, the conference. So a few years ago, actually before I even got there, they started work on a stablecoins paper, because stablecoins were really hot back then. And it's taken, we only released it 6 months, if that, ago. And that's one of the things, one of the problems we had was the amount of regulation and how much the lawyers poured over it. It literally took 2.5 years. And that's me emailing them lots and lots and lots. I mean, me and our lawyer guy, Michael, we're best friends now. We spent so much time together. It's true. So that's how much of a hill we have to climb in the telco industry to do this stuff. So today, I'd like to discuss the paper, what's in it, rather than you guys reading it, because it's a bit of a heavy read. It's one of the first things we did. It's nothing 40, 50 pages, so don't feel bad if you don't read it. Okay? My boss hasn't even read it. That's the truth, he hasn't read it. Yeah, I'll go through a little bit of what's in the paper and hopefully tell you where we think stablecoins can play a role in telcos going forward, right? So, and you guys probably already know this, but I'll just do this in case there's anybody in the room hasn't been here before. And they ask at the end of it, hey Gareth, that was great, but what's a stablecoin? So stablecoin is a cryptocurrency, yeah? So we've all seen those in the news by now, Bitcoins being the big one. And right off the bat, we decided crypto per se, Bitcoins, would be no good for the telcos because of risks. We needed something that would retain its value. Okay? And that's what the stablecoin does. That's the whole point of pegging mechanism. That's it. Right? It's meant to retain value, where a crypto can't, as it says, designed to reduce volatility. The other thing we wanted to do, which we were absolutely big on, was we didn't want to get on this train of stablecoins can replace traditional finance, even if that's true. Yeah, we didn't want to say that. Because we wanted to work with fiat, and that's something we talk about in the paper, yeah, that the bridge between the two, yeah, the bridge between the two. It's not about smashing existing fiat, smashing existing banks. Some industries might be into that. That's really not the way we thought we'd get any traction or be taken seriously. So stablecoins, as I've said, they matter, right? You can't, certainly it says traders there. What we were talking about in terms of telcos, they matter because of that stability factor. Big organizations, quite risk averse and some risk adverse in some respects. Okay, so they won't go for pure crypto, even if you talk about the possible gains. And no, it's all about the downside. So also we played in the paper, we talk about how they can enable real world payments. Decentralized finance was again something we thought that the telcos might want to get into, but really that would be the second phase, as the paper would say. First phase is that bridge between the fiat and the crypto world. That's really where we saw these things taking off in telcos. So we had to quickly explain and I had to do this again last week to my CTO, we still didn't get it. I still had to explain to him there's types, you know. The easiest one to understand is fiat, yeah, 1 for 1. And that everybody's really comfortable for that because hang on, I can just cash out my Gareth coin and I get £1. As long as you prove to me the pound's in the bank, Gareth, yeah, I'll go for that. That's perfect sense. It's yes, when we come on to regulation in a minute. That's very much how e-money works, yeah, Revolution, and that's why the regulation talks about stablecoins being similar to e-money. After that, we get, if you imagine this goes, the next one's a bit riskier. We can talk about crypto, which is say if Gareth, I launch Gareth coin, and then I say, right, I'm going to buy, say, £1,000 worth of Gareth coin, and I back it with say £2,000 worth of Bitcoin. The idea being is it covers that swing. Yes, you're never left exposed. You've always something you need. Obviously, to build trust, you want to cover it with something that's credible. You want to cover Gareth coin with David coin because they're going to go, well, I'm still out of pocket if they go back. Okay, algorithmic. That's really there. You're trying to tell people that the supply is to hold the peg is just an algorithm. It's just fancy maths. Yeah. Again, that's a really hard sell to anyone, not just telcos. You just tell them an maths. And the last one really commodity backed, so we get price oracles feeding real-time asset data, e.g. gold, the obvious one. Yeah. So once we rattle through that in the paper, and we explain to people that so I'll come on to that second. So the peg, I've talked about the peg, right? The difference between a stable coin and a crypto is the peg. And everybody thinks, Gareth says, Gareth coin's worth $1. It'll always trade for $1. Peg is not the price it trades for, right? It's a really hard thing to get through to people. They think it's a floorboard and a ceiling of things, and it's not. It's not. Okay. So what we're saying is, 1 token equals $1. So it's backed by a system to keep it that way, but it's not a guarantee. So there's other things that holds that peg in place. Trust in the issuer, the big one, and the mechanism. So if I just start my own company tomorrow and issued it, no one's going to trust me, right? GSMA perhaps, or Vodafone's got a chance, yeah, trusted institution. And you'd also have to prove that your mechanism was pretty good as well. Redemption, liquidity, and reserve strength, yeah. So again, if we're going pound for pound through audit, so if we're going one for pounds for Gareth coin, I can prove that I've got £1 million in the bank. I'm audited, yeah, regular auditing, so I can prove that, yeah. And just simple market forces, it's a price. Okay, so those are the 4 things that we had to try and get through to our managers when they said, "Oh, you mean it's always going to trade for $1?" No, I don't mean it's always going to trade for $1. I wish it could be that simple, right? So something that's well managed, and the peg's important, right? Because it's mental as well. So something that's well managed should always trade close to the peg. If you drop beneath the peg, it's really hard to gain confidence, credibility, because they think you said it will always trade for $1, even though you're blue in the face saying no, that's not what the peg is. They think that's what you said. So when you drop beneath that floorboard, it's really hard from way on, right? As my CTO said to me the other day. Yeah, so we've done the peg, right? We've done the peg, but it's just a target value. It's the mechanism, as we've said, and also what it's paired to. Yeah. So what you're pairing to has to be. So people, there's a huge thing. I went to a presentation a while ago, and somebody was saying how stablecoins are going to take out fiat. Okay, some people might see that, but you're going to have to peg it to something, right? If you imagine the layers of an onion, some stablecoins are always the ones that are going to need to be pegged to fiat, are always going to have to be pegged to strong fiat, so USD, euro, dollars, right? Because that shapes adoption and trust. Still, people's trust their governments, yeah. And they say, yeah, I cashed this in. The government, I mean, we all know governments don't stand behind their money. They haven't done that since like 71, but they still believe they're going to stand behind those monies, right? And regulation as well is a huge one. We're going to come on to that in a minute, okay? Prices and what come out of a peg is the regulation that we're up against. And at the moment, MiCA, Euro, that's almost, they're still adopting that. And then there's a UK version as well, because obviously we've adopted outside the EU. We'll talk about that in a minute, okay? So in the paper, obviously being the Telco worldwide body, those are the things we have to consider, yeah? And there's some overlap between them, and then there's some complete disparity as well, because there's just so many different things. So why use the advanced mechanisms, Gareth? This is something one of my managers doesn't quite understand. So for one thing, it's obvious, yeah, Gareth coin, £1 in the back, that's obvious, I get that. Why would I use an advanced mechanism? Well, for a number of reasons. One, it moves us beyond fiat dependence and banks, right? If you just don't want, you want to exit the traditional TradFi, traditional finance world banks, then you would peg to a normal currency, actually still in that game. That's the obvious one. The other one, I mean, there's a few reasons on here, but the other one as well is if you were to go out and create a million Gareth coin, and you said you wanted to 1-to-1, I've got to go out and find £1 million, right? That's really hard for some people to do, to back it with fiat money. Okay, so they come out with these more advanced mechanisms, which are higher in risk, where it allows for greater innovation in the space because they haven't got access to £1 million to back it. Young startups, people who just want to get things going, those are the reasons you'd use these advanced mechanisms, right? Which you all probably know as much as me. So in the space, there's huge risks, right? And there's all sorts of, we've seen Terra fall because of the peg, reserve transparency issues, tether, regulatory uncertainty. Yeah, I mean, again, the States now with the new administration, he seems to be more crypto friendly compared to previous regimes. Us on this side now, we've left the EU, we're outside MiCA, we've had to come up with our own thing. So there's lots of regulations that we need to worry about. And also loss of credibility. You can imagine a big firm using a stable coin and the bottom falls out of it, and then they can't make their payment systems work. The chances are they're going to really struggle to recover. And in the worst cases, okay, those things can spread, cause instability. And no one wants to be that guy, right? No one wants to be the one who started off any instability or the source of contagion. So there's massive risk. Whereas anybody who works in investment knows, right? Risk goes with reward, isn't it? If you can manage the risks, the upstream. So you can't take the risks away. You can negate them. You can put frameworks around them, etc., etc., and then you can enjoy the upswings, right? Which is kind of what the paper says for telcos. Maybe it's a space for some brave people to go first. Right. So, all right, Gareth, this stablecoin thing. So, how does it differ to fiat? Fiat being, don't want to get into a conversation about more narrow money, broad money. Fiat being normal pounds and pence, right? We'll just call it that. So, for most consumers in developed markets, the fees and inefficiencies of handling fiat are acceptable. Yeah, us here, we get paid. We use our cards. Right, I want to transfer from money to another bank. Maybe I want to transfer it back home to New Zealand. It takes a few days. I accept that. Okay, I can live with it. So if stablecoins were just a bit cheaper, they wouldn't get the traction they have, right? All this that we don't have the friction, we don't have the middlemen. Some people say we need middlemen because of regulation, right? Some people in traditional finance say no, they do a really good job because they're needed for a reason, right? So, and if it's just faster and cheaper, they probably wouldn't have got the legs on them they've had so far. So the real value, and this is what the paper says, right? And this I'll explain. We went a little wrong with our use case, and I'll explain that in a minute. But the real value of stablecoins isn't just the cost, right? It's the access, it's who controls them, and it's their ability to be programmed. At the atomic cellular level, we can put in programming and controls, right? That is something fiat just cannot do, right? That is its ace card. It's programmable. So with a stablecoin, as we all know, if you've got people who don't have access to banks or credit scores can use a wallet and move their coins, their tokens around. It's programmable. We've got all the advantages of borderless. It's 24/7, transparency, auditable, and self-custody. Right? Not a lot of people know. You put your money in a bank. Like I deposited money into a bank yesterday. Whose money is that? Is it mine? It's the bank's. What's the banking license say? Well, I might have access to it, but who controls it? They take the website down, run other banks. Who's got self-custody? That sovereignty is a massive boon for people who believe that banks aren't always operating on their side, right? So what's important to understand, because I say to my boss, yeah, Gareth, but I can't use Bitcoin. I walk into, oh, sorry. So my boss says to me, yeah, Gareth, but I can't use Bitcoin in a shop. It's no good in a grocery store. Your stablecoins are not trying to replace that ability where at the moment we tap one piece of plastic on another piece of plastic, that probably won't get a lot more efficient, right? That's pretty efficient as it is. You walk in, tap your card, walk out, right? But will stable coins have a place in that sandwich? Most probably, yeah. Most of the big players are looking at that sandwich of payments and saying, in there somewhere we can have a stable, right? So the idea is that we don't compete. That's one thing the paper says, and one thing is the telcos. One thing that the group tries to impress on the telcos is we're not trying to compete with fiat, we're trying to add to it, we're trying to do what it can't do, right? Because fiat's got its side of things locked down pretty well. So it can let people outside the system in. That's the big one. So I mentioned there, people 24-hour access and people without bank accounts. So this is where I talk to a lot of our main banks and they jump up and down at this point saying, oh, Gareth, the exclusions for a reason. We don't exclude because we're not bad people. We exclude because there's reasons for it. So just pissing banks in the room are going to jump up in there. I understand why you have exclusion, right? There's very good reasons why some people, criminal, nefarious activity, etc., people don't have credit scores, are excluded from banking, right? So in the early days, we always used to say, aha, anyone can transact on the Bitcoin, right? You don't know who anyone is. Yeah, it's anonymous. You have a wallet address, but you don't know who's behind the wallet. Obviously, in modern things now, with modern exchanges, I mean, I don't know if any there's people in this room that like me have got a Coinbase account yet. The amount of time it takes you to scan your passport, it takes 24 hours. You got to. There is a ton of KYC that goes on, right? So the blockchain itself might not know wallet to wallet, but the exchanges know who owns that wallet through KYC. So stablecoins are not a silver bullet to including everyone in the world to money. They don't want to be because there's some very good reasons to it. Many people who are unbanked due to low profitability in those areas, and because we just don't want them in the system. And stablecoins can improve access, but they don't solve profit motives. Yeah? They don't solve why banks aren't in those areas. So to include everyone, I don't want anybody thinking, well, you guys been about stablecoins for a while, but if there's anybody listening thinking stablecoins can just include everyone in this money, no, they can't, right? There's more to it. There's stablecoins. We've got to rethink profitability. We've got to rethink all those checks and balances, right? It's a mixed picture. I've had people say to me, "Oh, you can include everyone." No, that's not what we're saying. So I started off by saying it was a bridge, okay? But the simplest way to describe the bridge that we talk about in the telcos with stablecoins is it's a halfway house. So we want all the advantages of crypto, easy to move it around, okay? Self-custody, like we said, use the wallets, we can program it, we can do all that stuff with it, but we don't want the risks that go with it, aka it's not pegged to anything, right? So the stablecoin sits in the middle, and it's a slow way of bringing the telcos into the crypto world. That's what we mean by a bridge. Lots of words on there, but that's essentially what it means. All right, when we talk about bridging the two. All right, so you guys want to do that. You've been fantastic. So when we worked with PayPal, we needed use cases. They said, "Right, Gareth, that's great, stable, a bit of background and all that. But what does it mean to us?" And we made a huge mistake. When we did the paper, we made a big mistake because we concentrated on that. So everyone's been on a foreign holiday, right? You know, roaming, you take your phone abroad, you use it, either it's part of your package or it isn't. If it isn't part of your package, you get billed, yeah? That's a huge thing in the telco space. It was a massive money miss, but it's fallen off a little bit these days because everybody's got hotspots and WhatsApp and stuff. Right? But that was a huge thing. So when we started talking about stablecoins, it was all the different currencies. Yeah. So when we talk about stablecoins, everybody goes, "Oh yeah, you mean like roaming? Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, definitely, we could do that." And on paper, it looks a complete home run, right? Because roaming is incredibly expensive. Because what happens is when you go on holiday and then you come back, it's not a simple matter of say on the last day of the month we settle all the accounts. Because say if there's been a marked change in the currencies, yeah, some person might be left out. There might have been a drop in their currencies, they might have been left exposed. So what they have to do is telcos. They do all sorts of complicated stuff. They use special drawdown rights. They use hedging, everything to manage their exposure and manage their risk. Yeah, is there someone here from Syllabus that mentioned yes? So like clearing houses get involved. Yeah, it's a very complicated picture. So we said, nailed on. Use a stable coin, practically instantaneous settlement. Everybody uses the same coin around the world. Yeah, what's not to love? No one took it. No one touched it with a barge pole. We even had a product. GSMA produced a product, the e-business network, to get into this roaming world. Yeah, and we must have spoken to 2,000 telcos. No one took it on trial. Right? So no one wanted to. So that was a bad steer. So it was never adopted. But now looking back, and we just thought it was like, oh, they didn't want to innovate, they didn't want to do this. No. Looking back, it was actually not adopted for really good reasons, right? And the really good reasons were that we were competing with fiat. We said, yeah, you're using fiat to do this, but we can do it cheaper and faster and less friction. And they said, yeah, but Gareth, as I said in the previous one, we'll live with that because we trust it. It's all right, Gareth, it's all right, don't worry about it. We'll wear it. What we should have done is do this, right? Which is where I think stablecoins play a part in telcos going forward. And I think David's with me on this, right? It's where the first one I would say is programmable money. Programmable means it follows rules, okay? So mainly in when it comes to, so telcos can integrate with wallets, they can integrate with exchanges, allow use, that's obvious. The second one is something we do, GSMA has a mobile money, I don't know if you've heard of that, GSMA mobile money, yeah? It's basically able to send money around the world. That's really where we could get involved here, but with the programmable aspect of it. So as I've said, for example, we have a lot of people, it's very popular with people who live abroad and then send money home. Yeah, okay, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But are they paying the tax? Yeah, remember, it's programmable. So in the smart contracts, at that cellular level, we can make sure they send £10 home to someone. If all tax has been paid, we can divert it straight at the code level. They can't get around it. Simple as that. Okay, things like that. Automate payments, as I've said. I work, another project I work on is Open Gateways. Anybody ever heard of that? Yeah, the API, yeah, GSMA. Yeah, and the way that we're all going to pay for it is we're going to follow the roaming route. We're going to do it like that. This would be something they could look at, pay by the second, pay by the megabyte, yeah, API access. Again, we've got aggregators in the mix. So when I pay for my API access, am I making sure the aggregator is getting their cut? Yeah, that can all be done at the programmable level. No one misses out. So that's one of the ways we think stablecoin will have a big impact on telcos going forward, because telcos admit they have to change. They have to start adapting to things like this. Yeah. One of the things we're talking about is compliance. We're very compliant. I suppose we have to be, obviously, with big companies, so we can build in KYC at code level, unlocking smart payments, cross-border subscriptions, altering stablecoins using the hedge inflation. Yeah, these are the markets we're going to be getting into, hopefully, going forward. All right, so that's one of the things we have to. In the paper, we should have made more use of that. We didn't. The second one is, as I've said, and I think David might be on with me on this one, operators need to change going forward, right? They need to modernize. Certainly as Web3 enablers, right? The currency of, well, Web3's got, there's no standard definition. You talk about the future of the internet, right? That's moving forward. So in the future, on these rails, in this ecosystem, crypto will be its currency. Crypto will be its currency, right? So again, the usual stuff, on ramp, off ramp, allowing people to update their mobile balances with their stable coins, selling airtime data with built-in logic, cashing out, pay USDC, UCF. That stuff is quite low-hanging fruit, really, for telcos if they got into it. And the big one that really excites me, just coming through this, I know I'm running out of time. One thing I think we really are going to be getting into soon is this one, SIM-based KYC, which is where your wallet will be tied to your SIM card. So you want to use a service, somebody says, hey, is this wallet registered? You check whether it's registered to a SIM card. Everyone knows what a SIM card is. I don't need to explain that. You guys know it's registered to a SIM card. When we give someone a SIM card, we onboard people anyway in the telco world. That's going to be massive. It's going to be a cornerstone of going forward, how we do it. And we didn't make enough of that in the paper, which is probably why the paper's fallen on deaf ears a little bit. We have to take that as so it wasn't my paper. I keep saying the group wrote. Just don't blame or give me all the credit, whichever one you get to do, right? It was a group thing. Right? We didn't quite make enough of that. And I think that, but I am getting emails now of people talking about, saying, Gareth, about this. And telcos are ideally placed, right? Because we've got the connectivity. If we can get into the identity business, like I'm saying with SIM-based KYC, we've got the distribution. We've got hundreds, thousands of users that want to use our services. Millions, actually.
People own the data.
Sorry?
People own the data.
Well, in true Web3 fashion, you would.
That's the question.
Don't ask me how.
That's the right answer.
Yeah. Does that work?
It does.
So, this brings you on to another project actually I was working on, data trust. We should talk about that. Sorry, sideline. So we have that the telco of the future is in a pretty good position if it can start getting on board with these things, all right? And that's one of the struggles. That's what my team does. So anybody wants to speak to me about that, please do. But that's where I think the paper should have taken us. So strategic opportunities for telcos going forward. This is one of the things we outlined. Making programmable money the core of those new telco services. That programmability, and we can be Web3 enablers doing that. And like I said, focusing on what Stripe, that's anything with a strip on the back, right? These are massive. Focusing on what they can't do. Don't compete. If there was one takeaway from today, if you're thinking of getting into stable coins and what kind of get, I'd say that don't compete where you don't have to. Talk about what new stuff we can do, aka the programmability, and that combining identity with wallets and a SIM. That's something I'd be looking out for in the next few years. Okay, why regulation matters quickly. We know this. We all know this. But because the tension's real, financial inclusion and censorship versus preventing illegal activity. None of us like regulation until we need it, until we've been caught out. And then why wasn't there more? You know, that's what everybody says. So it is, and before we had a reputation, I think, of being, the cool kids who didn't care about the rules. Now we understand for mass adoption and credibility, we need regulation. No one's going to get involved if there isn't any. Okay, so now we're on board, I think, more our community with regulation. We want to be a seat at the table to design it, but we understand we need it. Okay, so I talked about MiCA earlier. And as a telco, marketing crypto asset regulation, that's the EU one, right? And I said, ever since we left the EU, it's not really relevant to us. But as telcos, that's what the paper says. We've got to live in those two worlds, yeah? Because if I here I'm issuing stablecoins from the UK and I'm issuing that to the EU, then MiCA does impact me, right? So that's something we kept going through in the paper, how that affects telcos. UK regulation is its own thing, yeah. Financial Services and Markets Act, and as I said earlier, it's looking to treat stablecoins as e-money, so like Revolut, PayPal, yeah, because it understands the one-to-one thing. If they ever get a failure with an algorithmic based or over collateralized, they'll probably have to change again what their thinking is. Okay, but that's where they're going with that, and that's something the paper dives into quite heavily. We had a lot of lawyers working on that. Oh, excuse me, I've done it. Right, yeah, so that's it really. So one thing, I think wholesale applications first due to regulation, yeah. That's businesses paying businesses, not us consumers using it. I think you'll see telcos roll those out first. We'll get clear regulation. Regulation is getting clearer, I believe that, and I think it'll continue to do so. CBDCs are something we talk about a lot of work because a lot of people believe if there are CBDCs, will we ever need stablecoins? Won't they overtake them? So we'll have to wait and see. That's something we have to look out for. And like I said, don't compete with Stripe. Maybe look for things that only stablecoins can do with their programmability features. And we're really excited about turning operators into platforms. Like I said, SIM wallet integration and Web3 enablers.
I have a question because there's something blatant for me. By the way, I'm a capital market guy, right? So disclaimer, you have airtime adds value, you tokenize that thing, and then it's your stable, right? Asset-backed securities by airtime. Yeah. You haven't mentioned that, and to me, it's like jumping out of. Yeah, there's lots. I haven't mentioned Spectrum, tokenization either. So I didn't. Is it because you don't want to share with us, or no? Joking. Well, sometimes I can't share. If I was to share everything we talked about, everything we worked out, we'd be here for a long time because we're only limited really by their imagination with telcos, right? I also understand that you can tokenize tokens in theory of things, something that could or couldn't exist in the real world, and then we can have this money that's programmable. We could be here forever, but yeah, you're right. Those conversations have happened. Okay, not just with me. Yeah. So where was I? Oh, that's it. That's me. I'm done. Sorry.
Any other questions for Gareth? So Gareth, on the decentralized identity or identity front, definitely a lot of people in our communities working on that. We actually have there was a paper that the Telecom Special Interest Group recently published, I think about 6 months ago, I'm trying to pull it up, called Telecom Decentralized Identity Network, TDIDN. So I'll share that paper with you.
Yeah, I'm in that group.
Okay.
I don't know if I've ever contributed, but I've heard around this on that too, but yeah, please do.
Yeah, and there's other folks as well across Trust Over IP and Decentralized Identity Foundation working on similar things. So we would love to make sure we connect you to the right folks.
Yeah, very so.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I think it was interesting the thing you said about KYC, deferring the KYC to like the SIM card issuance. But where does that sit in from like a regulatory perspective? Because I guess if I'm like a party and saying, okay, like I trust that you've done the KYC, you were open the SIM, like is that something that kind of stacks up from like
I don't think there's any regulation on that yet. We have a SIM group as well, GSM, with lots and lots of working groups on it. So that's one of the things they're looking at. Right? But that's where we would see it going, that your SIM card KYC is embedded. I mean, because SIM cards don't just live in phones. I mean, I was at NWC Barcelona, and SIM card, a car now, apparently, they were saying starts off as life as a SIM card. Okay, great. There's lots of me after that point, but a car now starts off as a SIM card, yeah. So then we're talking about cars that can be charged and use their own coins or their own wallets and book themselves in for services and things. So I haven't got an answer, but if you want, I can hook you up with the SIM group and they will have an answer to that. Yeah.
I think a lot of people will be interested in that topic for sure. Excellent.
Right.
Great. Well, thank you, Gareth. I messed up, but I'm going to give a quick less than 15-minute presentation around some of the work that the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust is doing, and then we'll go over to Tony, hopefully on time at 6:20. So first, before I get started, I thanked David Palmer before. I want to thank Pairpoint and Vodafone for hosting us in this beautiful space today. We're really appreciative of the community coming together and helping us convene our members worldwide as well. So just some updates. I'm going to ask a question. How many people here were participating in the Hyperledger Foundation with the Hyperledger projects in the past? So I know kind of. Okay, so good. We have a nice, good group. So Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust is the new project. We are part of the Linux Foundation. I already had some conversations earlier. And why is that important? The Linux Foundation for the last 25 plus years has been the home for some of the most important, I would say, open source projects, including the Linux kernel, but also across many different industries in the cloud computing with Kubernetes, even in the film industry with the Academy of Software Foundation, and we're really a foundation of foundations, really focused on open development, open governance, and open source and standards as well. So we're really proud to be part of the Linux Foundation and took the Linux Foundation name as part of the expanded. So 6 months ago, what we did is we formed Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust. We took all the existing Hyperledger projects. We took Trust over IP, which is a joint development fund project working under the LF for standards, and we established LF Decentralized Trust. At the same time, we brought in 2 new projects, and I'll talk about both of them. And LF Decentralized Trust will be celebrating our 1st year anniversary while we celebrate 10 years of working on blockchain and decentralized identity at the Linux Foundation. So in 2015, a group of companies, including many many banks and many technology companies, formed what was then called the Hyperledger Project. Then in 2021, it moved to the Hyperledger Foundation, and then last year we expanded our scope and our mission to be LF Decentralized Trust, to really focus on decentralized technologies, and I'll talk a bit about that. So quiz, get everybody up, a quiz for everyone, especially for those of you who've been in our community for a while. Who contributed the Hyperledger trademark to the Linux Foundation? Was it IBM? Was it Digital Asset, the company? Was it the community made it up? Hey, it was a fun name.
Yeah, I did that.
Three? We got half and half. The answer, and Liz cheats because she was at Digital Asset, is actually Digital Asset. So when in 2015, when the Hyperledger project was formed, it started with one project, which was the contribution by IBM, which is now known as Hyperledger Fabric. And Digital Asset came with the trademark of Hyperledger, the brand name, and that's how the consortium and the foundation was formed. And we're very grateful, obviously, for our history. So, we're in our 10th year of community building around our projects. We have hundreds and hundreds of global enterprises and startups that are members and contributors to to our organization. We're now at 18 projects, 50 different labs. We have our first standards project in the JDF with the Trust over IP community, and really growing. We continue to grow around the world. We have chapters that have, like our India regional chapter is over 16,000 participants. In Brazil, I was just in Brazil, over 7,000 participants in those regional chapters. So we really continue seeing the growth and momentum. And obviously, the adoption of these tools are really across a diverse use cases, whether it's the telecommunication industry or insurance, energy, CBDCs. CBDCs are not dead. We actually saw an acceleration of interest of nation states looking at CBDCs and accelerating their CBDC programs because they don't want to be behind the ball here as well. So, and we can certainly talk about that as well. So it's really a diverse ecosystem of technologies and use cases and members. We are a member-driven organization and really supported by a community, a really global community as well. So when we talk about decentralized technologies and the expansions of just being a ledger, right, with the Hyperledger projects, is really looking at blockchains and distributed ledgers, depending on who you talk to, smart contracts, decentralized file storage, decentralized identity systems, zero-knowledge proofs, multi-party computation, and different federated systems. And we have a nice pipeline of new projects that are coming into the foundation, really focused on the needs of decentralization in the enterprise. And we all know the impact of decentralized technologies continues to grow very rapidly, and specifically in the last 6 to 12 months. This is a report from BCG around just asset tokenization alone by 2030. And I would think that if they rewrote this report in the next 6 months, that number is going to increase quite a bit as well, just based on all the activity that we see. And very importantly, it's about modernizing core infrastructure. I had a panel yesterday with the Bank of England, HSBC, and Adhara, who is the folks behind Finality. And we are in the middle of modernizing a lot of systems that have been around for 20, 30 years. And these technologies are really enabling the way. And this is why it's so important that these technologies are open source, but very importantly, openly governed and openly developed in a neutral foundation like the Linux Foundation as well. So when we look at the enterprise, the adoption of projects within the Linux Foundation, as I said, we started in 2015 with these projects, and there's other projects that have been archived or, gone to other places. But ultimately, it is the timeline of enterprise adoption as we see the types of toolings that we need. We have ledgers, we have digital identity projects, we have projects that enable really deployment of these networks very easily, like Hyperledger, Firefly, and Bevel. And it's really about the needs, once again, of the enterprise and how enterprises are using these technologies as we continue to mature in the market. So when we look at these projects, we kind of are categorizing them under ledger technologies, interoperability projects, integration and implementation, decentralized identity, and cryptographic tools and protocols. There's actually a couple of companies and people who are maintainers of these projects. We have the folks, Enrique, who's representing Kaleido, who are maintainers of both Firefly, and it was actually a contribution from Kaleido as well as Bezu. So thank you to Kaleido. And we have Sean, who is a maintainer of Solang, Hyperledger Solang. And you can talk to both of them. Is there anyone else who is in the group that's a contributor or maintainer to one of our projects? I think that was it. But so please do, after the networking, check in with them. We have lots of a great portfolio of projects really addressing the needs. And very early on, we said that there was a spectrum of blockchain. There's not going to be one blockchain to rule them all. My personal opinion, I don't think there's should be thousands of them. There will be consolidation, and every day there's a new chain. But when we think about enterprises and how enterprises would use the technology, very early on we said it's not just permissioned distributed ledgers, and there's going to continue being use cases that permission distributed ledgers is the right technology to use. And it's not just going to be public blockchain, permissionless blockchains, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Adera, Cardano, et cetera. And that we needed to really address the need of the enterprise in this continuum of blockchains as well. So just a quick timeline just from the Ethereum ecosystem. The Ethereum ecosystem has been part of our community since very early on. Ethereum is also celebrating their 10th year anniversary this year on July 30th. At the same time, so the same year that we launched what was then known as the Hyperledger project, we had our first EVM support by Hyperledger Burrow, and Sean actually worked for Monax, which is the company that contributed that to the Linux Foundation at the time as well. And Bezu in 2019 was the contribution by Consensus, the company with the Y, and I'll talk a bit about that. But as you see, our community has always embraced and understood that the enterprise was going to get to a level where permissionless use cases was viable. Personal opinion, I've always said, here's permissioned and here's public. And I've always thought that the permission side of the world, the enterprise world, would move closer and closer to the permissionless. And we see that for sure happening and continue to having discussion. I didn't think that the public permissionless side was going to move so quickly to the center as well, as we're seeing a lot of these privacy solutions and layer ones that are public layer ones with privacy enhanced solutions as well. So it's really nice to see kind of both communities coming together. And at Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust, you'll see more projects and more communities coming in who want to work with that enterprise and who want to build solutions that are usable from a production perspective. So we're very excited about that. And we'll have more announcements coming out in the next few months as well around some of these new projects. So how many people know here Bezu? Good amounts. So Bezu, as I mentioned before, came into the foundation in 2019. It is used in many of the financial industry use cases that we're seeing, as well as so the market leading position about 40. This is a block team and report from a year ago. 40% of the firms surveyed, and these were bank and asset managers and clearinghouses, said that they had selected Bezu as the EVM of choice. And we're continuing to see that adoption. Bezu has a very important story, and why do people select Bezu? It is currently also running 16% of the Ethereum mainnet. So Bezu is an execution client, and it is running 16% of the mainnet. So Bezu always has to have complete parity with what's happening with the Ethereum ecosystem, right? And certainly when people select Bezu as an EVM, that's really important to them because they know that they're going to be able to leverage and take advantage of all the innovation that's happening on mainnet. Bezu, however, also has modularity and permissioned Bezu components that are really important to enterprises on how they use a DLT and an EVM. So best of both worlds coming together and have been coming together, and the community has been working on that, which is fantastic. Another project that I want to quickly highlight is Hyro. So Hyro came in as a contribution in September when we launched Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust. And Hyro is the code, including the consensus hash graph that runs the Hedera public blockchain. So Hedera is a public layer one, and we're very happy to host Hyro. It's one of our newest projects and fastest growing from a developer community as well. The uniqueness of Hyro is the first public layer one that has completely contributed their code base to a neutral foundation, which is Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust. Many other layer ones have their code bases openly governed by other foundations, but Hyro has been the first to do that. So we're very supportive of the work that the Hedera ecosystem has brought into the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust. Another one of the newest projects that we launched in September, it's called Loch Ness, and this was the first in the cryptographic world of projects, and you'll see more of those. And Loch Ness is a multi-party computation, MPC threshold signature scheme. Great community growing, also part of the NPC Alliance, we'll be seeing some more projects that will be worked on collaboratively in the open at the Linux Foundation. So those were the two newest projects, and you'll notice that these projects, some have the choice of using Hyperledger, and we actually have new projects that want to use the Hyperledger brand. Some can choose not to. The governance of all these projects within the umbrella is every project has their own project charter, that have their own technical steering committee, and this is really important, right? The autonomy of being a project under Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust, but also having your own charter, having your own, essentially making your own decisions on a project by project basis, and also funding as well. We have funding mechanism for these projects as they continue to grow and mature. We have a very, very active labs ecosystem, and we have over 50 active labs. And this is a great place if you want to bring code into the community and start very lightweight process. And you can bring demo code, you can bring projects that you want to mature into incubated and graduated projects, and you get the support from our community around different types of tooling, meetups, community building, all that is available through the labs. So as I mentioned, we have about 100, about 50 of them are pretty active, and labs very often stay as labs, but very often they also graduate. So labs that became projects include Hyperledger Cacti and Hyperledger Firefly, Bevel, Identis, and Solang. All those started as labs and then matured into incubated processes. And if you're interested in our project lifecycle, I'm happy to talk to you during the networking time, or you can go on our website. But we are always looking for groups and individuals even that want to bring some of their code into the Linux Foundation. A couple of labs that might be of interest is Splice. So Splice is a lab for the Canton network, for interoperability on the Canton network, and it actually provides all the code and reference applications that run the Canton network. It's in the labs and moving towards the incubated status as well. And another one, just very quickly, because I know I'm running out of time, is Zeto, which is another privacy preserving project. And there's a second one called Paladin, and Enrique can also talk about Paladin as well from a privacy perspective. That project is getting a lot of traction right now as well. There are so many projects, and I know there's so many things. How do you go about figuring out which ones should you be interested in? What's going on? You know, like they're all cute little logos, but where really do I spend some time? We have a project matrix on our website that will give you an overview of each project and really give you, the directions on how to view more information on it. We have tons of videos on YouTube and different webinars and workshops that you can really deep dive into any of these projects. So how do you go about participating in the community? First, if you're interested in seeing what business use cases are being built with any of our projects, we have a use case tracker that has over 250 different use cases that you can take a look at. You could see what projects are they using, or what are they in production, are they an experiment, are they a POC, who's involved in it. And if you have projects that you yourself are building using our projects, our open source code, please submit it via the use case tracker. We'll take a look at it, we'll vet it a little bit, and then we'll publish it out to see. All our community calls are open. You can participate in any of the project calls, in any of the working groups, special interest groups, etc. All you need to go into our community calendars and register, and then you're able to access any of the codes. On a weekly basis, there's like 50 different calls. You can really spend your whole day talking to our community members. The other thing, if you want to see kind of the activity of what's happening in our incubated and graduated projects, you can use Linux Foundation LFX Insights, where you can see who's contributing to which projects, what kind of activity and is happening. And it's a great way to see the traction that each of our projects have. And it's a great way to really understand how an open source community really activates these code projects and community members. We do have a fantastic program. Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust and Hyperledger over the last 10 years has trained over 260,000 engineers on our different projects. So we just launched our Bezu professional certification. We have a Hyperledger Fabric professional certification. But as you see there, we also have many other project free edX courses, as well as training and certs as well. So great opportunity to train yourself. We are a Discord community, so you can join the Discord. There's hundreds of different channels, and you can just zip in to the channels that you're mostly interested in and see the content that you are interested in. And of course, we are a member organization, so please join us if you're interested. We have information, I think, outside around our membership, and we will welcome Pairpoint, as I mentioned, is a member, supporting member of our organization, and we're always happy to work with our members. We have many other members who are from member organizations here today. All right. People raising their hands, please go and ask them, how is it to be a member? What are the benefits, and how do you contribute, and how do you help us build these communities around the world? So thank you to our members who continue to support us. And we're community driven. It's about you. And at the end, I want to have a conversation about how do we enable the London ecosystem as part of the European regional chapter in doing more events like this, and doing events not that interest me, right? I can go around the world and do events of things that I'm interested in, but what events interest you, right? Where are the technologies that you want to bring in? So we are community driven, and it's all about you. And speaking about community, it's my pleasure to introduce Tony McLaughlin. Tony's been in the industry for a very, very, very long time, and
What is that?
as long as I am, for sure. I'll let him introduce himself and his background and talk a bit about his new venture, which we're very excited to be supporting tonight.
Very much. Sit down if you like, comfortable. So I'm Tony McLaughlin, and probably have a very divergent background from most of the people in the room, because I've been working in banks for my entire working life for the past, hi Martin, good to see you. Been working in banks for my entire working life, always in payments. And believe me, for most of the time that I've been working in payments, nobody cared. Not been a sexy subject for most of my working life. So thank God for crypto. We're never interested in talking about payments. You know, as I've been listening to the great presentations, I've been thinking about how my comments might serve you, and where the open source community might make the greatest contribution to what's coming next in payments, based upon stablecoins. So if you'll forgive me, I'm not going to speak about my own company. I'm going to speak about why I think stablecoins are going to become the dominant form factor of payments on the planet. I'm going to give you several reasons, and then I'm going to end with where you might be motivated to contribute. It's completely up to you. But let's start talking about some basic elemental things which go on in the development of technology. So you're quite right. I have been around for a long time, and one thing I've noticed is that in technology, general purpose technologies, if they're given a chance, take over from special purpose technologies. So in my life, I've listened to vinyl and CDs and magnetic tape. Sorry, I got the order wrong. Vinyl, then magnetic tape, then CDs and mini disc. And I've had lots of special purpose music reproduction technologies, and none of those really exist anymore because they've all been taken over by streaming over a mobile or streaming over a computer. So what has happened is that the special purpose technologies have been supplanted. all of the features that you had in the special purpose technologies have been subsumed within the general purpose technology. So has that happened in music? That has happened in music. So by analogy, in my life in payments, I've used cash, I've used checks, I've used ACHs and faster payment systems, and I've used prepaid cards and debit cards and all sorts of cards and all sorts of wallets. Now, are those special purpose technologies that only do payments? Yes, they are. Is a stablecoin on a public network more or less general purpose than those special purpose technologies? It is more general purpose. And I prove it to you. Let's compare a faster payments network in a country like the UK with Ethereum. Which is more general purpose? Ethereum. Let's think about a Swift message, an MT103 Swift message. Is that more or less general purpose than a token on Ethereum? Less general purpose. So you give the general purpose half a chance, and the general purpose technology wins, and the legacy special purpose technology disappears. And that is what's going to happen to payments. The form factor of tokens on public permissionless networks will subsume all of the features that we currently see in legacy payment types. And the fact that we don't fully see that manifest at the moment is just because we live in time, in a moment in time. So let's now turn to stablecoins. So this is very strange. This is very, humans are very strange. We call these things stable coins. Is there a coin? No. There's no coin. But the word coin conjures a usage in our meat space. And essentially, we think about it as being a digital bearer instrument, and we think it as having cash-like qualities. The cash-like qualities are the ones that manifest themselves today. But my argument, I'll try to prove it to you through this discussion, is that over time, a stable coin will have wire transfer, wire payment type, credit transfer type attributes. It will have credit and debit card type attributes. In fact, it will subsume all of the attributes that we see in the special purpose technologies into the form factor that we now call stablecoin. So stablecoins as a form factor will be the dominant form of payments on the planet. But now I'm going to have to take you out. Look, you guys will very lose me in tech in 2 minutes, and I'm going to go into stuff which is non-tech financial stuff, and it's not my intention to lose you. It's my intention to take you with me on this journey. So let us interrogate what is a stablecoin. Now, let me describe to you 7 attributes. 7 attributes. A US dollar denominated instrument issued by a non-bank. Pre-funded. What does pre-funded mean? You hand over the money and you get the instrument. Fully collateralized. What does that mean? You hand over the money and the issuer keeps the money until you claim it back. A bearer instrument, which means I can just hand it from me to you. Doesn't pay interest. A negotiable instrument. Now, what is a negotiable instrument? So a negotiable instrument is, if you give me £1 and I write you a note, I owe you £1, and I give you that note, you can trade that note. You can buy and sell that note on the basis that anyone can come back to me with that piece of paper and claim the £1. So a negotiable instrument just means something that can be traded, okay? Now, what have I described? Cash. Money. Are those the attributes of a stablecoin that we see today? Is that the attributes of the stablecoins that we see today?
No.
Why?
Well, the first one was that it's backed by US dollar. Doesn't have to be backed by US dollar.
Well, let's talk. Well, you're talking about the general class of stablecoins, but the stablecoins that are prevalent at the moment, like Circle and Tether,
Okay.
are those the attributes of those stablecoins? Okay, let's just say to a large extent. They're also the same attributes for an instrument that was first issued in 1891 called the traveller's check. And the point is that in the crypto community, there's a belief that we've invented fire. And it's the only difference between a stablecoin and a traveller's check is one is made of atoms and one is made of code. And what difference is that? There's no difference whatsoever. So if you understand negotiable instruments, it should be obvious that a negotiable instrument can be represented in almost any arbitrary form factor. An IOU. It should be obvious that I can write that on a piece of paper, that I can chisel it into, I can put it into a clay tablet, or I can write it on a blockchain, and it's the same thing. Should that not be obvious? Right, so let's then look at how, for example, in the UK, they're trying to define stablecoins. They're defining stablecoins as a crypto asset which references fiat. That's like saying a check is a piece of paper that references fiat. It's dumb. What this is, we have to go back to the Platonic form is the negotiable instrument. It's a negotiable instrument, which could be a piece of paper, or it could be a clay tablet, or it can be a token. They're all the same. They're all the same. And by the way, they're not only the same on Earth, they're the same anywhere in the universe. I kid you not, if a spaceship lands on Earth, it wasn't paid for in cash. Someone borrowed the money to build it. Any advanced civilization has come up with credit, IOUs, and it does not matter the form factor. It could be etched into a salt crystal with laser, and it's the same. So we're dealing with elemental forms that exist on Earth in different form factors and exist anywhere in the universe where there's an advanced civilization, and it's all the same. So stablecoin, at the moment, you can be very misled. You can look at a stablecoin and you can see the existing issuers, and you can say, a stablecoin is a dollar-denominated token, which is issued by a non-bank, which is pre-funded, fully collateralized, doesn't pay interest. It's a bearer instrument, it's a negotiable instrument. That's a stablecoin. Wrong. Wrong. Because we have to separate out two things. We have to separate out the form factor, which is the way in which we manifest or represent the instrument, from the issuer. And what a stablecoin really will be is an instrument that, as the name is there, that maintains its value. Now, stablecoins today, if I send anyone in the room a stablecoin, what do you do with it? If you want to cash out, if you want to off-ramp, you sell it on an exchange. And that's not weird. It's a negotiable instrument. Negotiable instruments can be bought and sold. But there's something else you can do with a negotiable instrument, which is just claim the money from the issuer. So can you in today's world go to your bank or fintech and hand over a stablecoin for $100 and get $100 back? You cannot, but you will. You will. That channel just doesn't exist at the moment, but it will. And when you can take a stablecoin par value $100 to your bank and get $100, then a stablecoin is not a crypto asset with reference to fiat. A stablecoin is just a negotiable instrument which is part of the fiat currency system. It's a new form factor. It's a new form factor of fiat. It's not Frankenstein money. It's not Quasimodo money. It doesn't have to be treated any differently. You don't have to write hundreds of pages of regulation. What is this strange thing that's suddenly appeared on Earth? Ridiculous. So, again, by analogy, sorry, I thought you were cancelling or something.
Sorry. I got the big question.
So let me just again, by analogy, something which is absolutely common or garden in the world, in the US. So let's just think about, again, some of you are too young to get this analogy of checks. In the US, there are 4,500 banks. Every single one of them can issue a check. If I give you, like, there are 4,500, so let's do 4,500, choose 5, random selection. And I give you those 5 checks for $100 each. You don't care who the issuer is. You don't care who the issuer is. Not caring who the issuer is called singleness of money. Not caring who the issuer is cash equivalence. And these are very, very important features where stablecoins just become regular money. Now, also, let's think about who can issue a check. So in the US, you have a small bank that can issue a check. The smallest bank in the country can issue a check. It's FDIC regulated. A large bank can issue a check. It's OCC regulated. In the US, you can issue a check against your money market fund. In the US, you had traveler's checks, which is issued by a non-bank. And back in my day, if you had a credit card, your credit card provider would give you a checkbook and you could write a check against your credit limit. So what I'm trying to illustrate is the check is not the same as the issuer. And you can have a check with $100 on it that trades, that basically can be redeemed at $100, that comes from multiple different types of issuers. So can there be, so what this does is collapses the definition of stablecoin. A stablecoin for $100 is something that trades, yes, but also can be submitted to your bank or your fintech. You can receive $100. But it can be issued by a non-bank, a small bank, a big bank, a money market fund, or indeed against a line of credit. So stablecoins are much more general purpose than we think. At the moment, we see the cash element of them. One thing that we have to add on is data. So in a business, for anyone who cares about a business-to-business use case, if you send me 10 invoices and I want to settle 5 of them with a stablecoin payment, I can't just send you a stablecoin. I have to send you the stablecoin plus the invoice level data. So that's the requirement. But once you can send the stablecoin and the data, then the stablecoin now looks like a wire transfer. And there will be additional features that we add on where stablecoins will look like credit cards and debit cards. Now, here's where it gets interesting for the open source community. We have to build stablecoin native payment systems. Stablecoin native. It offends me that people are putting credit cards on the front end of stablecoins. So let me ask you to think about this. When you go to let's say you go to a nice steak restaurant or if you're a vegetarian, forgive me, but you go to a nice restaurant and you eat $100 worth of food and you present your card and you walk out. By the time you've walked out, have you paid? No. So what's happened? You tap, goes to the point of sale terminal, goes to the acquirer, goes to the card network, goes to the issuer, and what comes back? What does the restaurant have? You've eaten the steak, and they've got an authorization. Now, in a world where you can do that by a stable coin, why can't I just give the restaurant a stable coin? Then there's no authorization. I just give them the stable coin. Now, what will be required to make that work? So I think what would be a very, very good transaction is I'm on my phone and I can associate any crypto wallet of my choice with the secure element on my phone. Look, Telco lost payments. This is a chance for Telco to get back into payments. So ideally, I can associate a crypto wallet with the secure element on my phone and the NFC. The merchant, meaning the steak restaurant, they can associate their crypto wallet with the point of sale terminal. And when I tap, the point of sale detects my NFC, it creates a transaction. I sign that transaction in my crypto wallet. I send a stable coin from my wallet to the merchant's wallet. The point of sale terminal is listening to the blockchain to see whether the transaction has taken place. I mean, the transaction has taken place, the sale is done, and the point of sale terminal updates. That's stablecoin native. Stablecoin from me to you, and the restaurant has been paid by the time I leave the restaurant. Now, if we want that interaction to work, we have to build a new kernel that goes into the point of sale, because the point of sale at the moment is controlled by EMVCo, and we can't get into that unless we play the cards game. So a very nice open source project would be a new point of sale kernel that supports stablecoin native interaction. Not QR code. QR code is the crappy workaround because we can't get into the kernel. So we have to build a new kernel. So if we want stablecoin native payments, if we believe that the general purpose technology should have its chance to subsume the old-fashioned technology, then we need to think about how we remove the obstacles to stablecoin native payments. Another example, which is very similar. If I want to do a person-to-person payment with stablecoins, how do we do it at the moment? You open up your wallet, you show me a QR code, I scan your QR. This is bullshit. Why cannot I just, we do the tap to tap and exchange the contact details. Why can't we do the tap to tap and I just press a button and send you a stablecoin from my wallet to your wallet? I don't want to know your wallet. Why can't I just do that tap to tap? That just has to be built. Let's build it open source. Let's make stablecoin native. So stablecoins, I quit 30 years in TradFi because I became absolutely convinced that stablecoins are the general purpose technology. Stablecoins are to payments what streaming music is to music. The telcos lost the payments game. M-Pesa was magnificent, but otherwise the telcos lost. Stablecoins are the opportunity for, since I'm just speaking here since we're in this room, stablecoins are the opportunity for telcos to have another bite at the cherry. But damn right you should be competing with Stripe. Of course you should compete with Stripe. Their big fat margin is your opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry, I didn't want to contradict other speakers. That's not polite.
I would say that, like I said, the because we trust it.
Who's comfortable with it? Not the merchants.
No, but once, well, yeah, that's true actually. 'Cause there's a pub. There's a pub near where I live, and he would rather he what did he say? He said he used to pay £35,000 a year in Visa. He owns a few pubs
Yeah.
interchange, and now he would rather tell people to come back and pay me tomorrow. And
Yeah.
I said, "Why not? Most of them don't do." He goes, "No, but I'm not £35,000 down."
Well, go in, next time, if you take a taxi today, ask the taxi driver how much they pay to collect their revenue. It's probably 3%. Now, this is a sales tax. If someone came along and said, we're going to increase sales tax by 3%, you'd be like, what the? So stable coins, we have the opportunity to reset. And I think the open source community, something really funny, Open CBDC, do you guys know that project? Open CBDC, they released the paper and with it, they had the quotation from the cathedral in the bazaar. And then I had never heard of that book, so I read the book. And then I learned all about Linux. And it's beautiful, it's a fantastic book. But in that book, it said the open source community works on stuff that they want to use. And I said to myself, why on earth did the CBDC, who wants to work on CBDC? Right? I mean, they quoted the book that gave the reasons why the open source community wouldn't work on the project that they were promoting. Who wants to work on CBDC? But stablecoins, I think, is a valid thing for the open source community to work on. Let's build the tap to tap.
Yeah.
Let's build the stablecoin native point of sale. And again, it's a completely new world where telcos and other players get a chance to compete with whoever they want to.
Yeah, but well, like I said, it's the trust issue, right? How long, if you built this new kernel open source?
Yeah.
Visa, the rest of them around, what, 30, 40 years? I don't know.
1970. Yeah.
So they're trusted, right?
Yeah.
You just tap, walk off. Chances are it's how long is it going to take us with the stable coin and this opens before people are doing it, trusting it like that?
Things changed slowly, and then all of a sudden, I couldn't imagine anything better than my Nokia phone. Then I couldn't imagine anything better than my BlackBerry, and then I couldn't imagine, these things. Stable coins have just been validated by the most powerful country on earth. It's in the interest of the United States of America to flood the world with stable coins, and that's going to happen. And the reason for that is because it diversifies demand for US national debt. It's happening.
Yeah.
And the regulatory regimes are coming into place that enables Vodafone to have a stable coin. And this is a whole new wave. You lost the previous wave as telcos. Start again, refresh.
Corridors being opened, right? So UAE to Philippines by the end of the year, roughly, where I send to my mother in Philippines, for argument's sake, 80. She goes to Jollibee, has some food, and she pays. I don't know the detail about the off-ramping, but that is happening right now.
Philippines, I haven't validated this, and I know this is live streaming, but I heard that 50% of remittances into Philippines are now stable coins.
Yeah.
So it's a completely new paradigm. Let's build it, man. Let's build it.
So for telcos, we actually have something called charge to bill. Yes. As operators, generally, if we're doing a postpaid account, we already do a credit check, so we can provide credit of up to, I think it's €50.
Yeah.
Germany slightly more, and you can buy different things. So linking the phone number to charge the bill and the KYC and making it a stable coin could be pretty powerful. And when we've already looked at things like intelligent point of sale, so redefining what it means to be a point of sale, and then essentially just making it something that could be on a mobile phone.
Right, that's it. Like the new point of sales are just Android phones, aren't they? They're just Android phones. So even the technology, there's going to be a whole refresh of the point of sale, and there needs to be a new kernel that supports not only stablecoins, but also account-to-account payments. That's best done as an open source project. That new kernel is best done as an open source project.
Linked to identity. So I think digital
Yes.
identity, as we said, verifiable credentials
Absolutely.
are the means to do the authentication.
Yeah.
We have things in the SIM card like hardware secure modules, 9 public-private key pairs, and some things. Some of the technologies we have. So I think the hardware is there.
For sure.
We said we just need to build it up.
Well, see, here's the thing. These stablecoins are coming, but the governments do not want them on unhosted wallets. They want them on hosted wallets. They want ID. We can't have a situation where there's a parallel universe of currency that is not visible to the tax system. So these trillions of dollars, in the main, should be within hosted wallets, or wallets that have got a verified credential associated with them. Yeah.
And then the government knows every time we need to say.
Well, look, the alternative is there are trillions of dollars floating around on unhosted wallets, and then the government doesn't have any revenue. So, the government knows when you eat this. The government knows when you're eating the steak anyway. They see you on the CCTV walking in. That part is already there.
I really enjoyed the talk a lot, and I just had.
I wasn't finished.
Okay.
I'm joking. I have finished.
2 minutes, 2 hours. I just had two questions. I love your, I think you guys are talking about, because there's a huge philosophical dilemma that you guys talked about on not just unhosted wallets, but compliant actions, right? Obviously, sanctions, seeing terrorist financing, a lot of impact on monetary policy is a major risk to central banks as they issue cash if it goes into alternative channels that can't be controlled. So your thoughts on, I think you touched on the thoughts of that with hosted wallets. There's also different standards that are also addressing that in terms of enabling clawback. But my second question actually was on, believe it or not, fees and transaction fees.
Yeah.
Because one of the principal differences is whether it's a credit card or ACH, fees that are incurred throughout the banking system are also paid in dollar-denominated terms, right? You pay your credit card fees when you go to the merchants, like, hey, you're gonna pay an extra few cents to process the transaction. But in some blockchains, and some private blockchains don't have it, but some public blockchains do, you have to pay a fee in their particular asset, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really where there's been a lot of challenge is when you look at your wallet, ideally, I just want to see my stablecoin balance and I pay that and it just works.
Right, exactly.
But in the reality now, you have to have some sort of, gas or some diminished amount of gas, even for L2s. So what are your thoughts on gas and gas fees? So I think that's one of the bigger differences when you change the chassis, right? To stable.
I mean, these things have to be abstracted away from the user level. And, I leave that to the guys who working in the blockchains and the stablecoin issuers like gas stations and stuff like that. But I know you guys are all idealists and not interested in money, but let me tell you about the economic driver of this. So the slide before was at $3 trillion that you put on the slide in terms of the market cap of stablecoins.
Yeah,
$3 trillion. Right, let me just give you some scary numbers. Let's just pick $1 trillion. So there's $1 trillion of dollar stablecoins circulating on the planet. A certain proportion of that is turned into fiat, is redeemed. How much is redeemed? You can change the numbers if you like, but existing numbers are 0.5% per day. So $1 trillion times 0.5% times 365 means $1.825 trillion of redemptions a year. Why is that interesting? Because whoever catches a foreign stablecoin and turns it into local currency has an opportunity to charge fees in FX. So let's just say you can pick a number. You might think it's going to be 1%, you might think it's going to be 3%. I'll just say for the sake of argument, it's going to be 2%. So you've got $37 billion of available opportunity, and all you have to do is catch a foreign stablecoin and convert it to local currency. So when people realize that's the game, there's going to be a massive competition. I call it the Pokemon strategy. You've got to catch them all. So you build a business, go forget your job, go build a business. The only thing it does is it catches foreign stablecoins and converts them to local currency, and get yourself a share of $37 billion. That's $37 billion at 1 trillion. That's, that's $100 billion at 3 trillion. That's how much money is going to get made. And because of that economic incentive, here's what's going to happen with the stablecoin market structure. Believe it or not, it's a solid prediction. It's math. It's happening. Every bank, every fintech on the planet will accept stablecoins, and everyone will issue. This is my prediction.
It started, with Walmart and Amazon, and
Yeah.
it's coming.
It's coming
at scale as well.
It's coming, and it's the financial incentive. It's the general purpose technology coming together, and stable coins will be the dominant form of payment on the planet.
And over time, as you have more merchants accepting stable coins, you can actually offer. And you can keep the 2%.
Especially, so what I call the stablecoin singularity is when, and this is nerd stuff, but at the moment, a stablecoin is not cash from an accounting perspective. It's an IAS 32 financial instrument, which just means it's a receivable. When stablecoins become cash equivalents, and I can give you a stablecoin and you can treat it on your balance sheet like cash, you don't need to offer it. So this is the future, and I'm just trying to entertain you.
So you believe that it fulfills all the characteristics of money? So
Yeah,
medium of exchange, store of value, standard of deferred payments,
absolutely,
measure of value.
absolutely. It will exhibit all of the features that we find in the previous legacy payment types and go beyond because of the programmability, because of the other features.
Programmability is
Yeah.
a big one.
It will go beyond. It will go beyond. Stablecoins will exhibit a super. So do this. Take every legacy form of payment: cash, check, debit card, prepaid card. Write down all the features. All those features are coming to stablecoins.
How about refunds?
Sorry.
How about refunds?
Okay, you send me a stablecoin, I send you it back.
Yeah, it's programmable from a merchant.
Yeah.
And the merchant does not deliver.
Yeah.
I may ask for a refund,
Sure.
but someone should be checking.
Yeah.
Because I just
I think
always
that
ask for.
much better
So
option
build
than
a-
it is currently.
No,
Every real time.
but look, just build a business that does that. I mean,
It's programmable
Just
because
like-
you can.
Someone needs to arbitrate.
Yeah.
Or arbitrarily.
But someone could be you.
No, arbitrarily you can say, you know what? I trust that what you say is right, and it's 10% discount, a haircut, like you see in other type of assets. Because stable as well, there's the money part, but is to me what I'm more interested in is the assets, right? Where you can put intangible and tangible assets, and then we can have an fungibility between you and I.
we can have. You could have like you can imagine some sort of escrow type service. Right, where the money is locked until the service is delivered. So what happens when you hire a car? They put a hold on your credit card.
Yeah.
So is that difficult?
Yeah. Well, you can build anything. Then. You can build mortgages. You can do loans.
Yeah, let's do it.
Simple.
Do it.
By the way, one of the things that the gentleman mentioned
Yeah.
about abstracting the gas payment is already there. The counter abstraction data form. You can pay in stablecoin. So even any token amount. That's right. It's already here.
I was going to ask about double spend and fraud.
Yeah. Well, double spend is in technology, isn't it? double spends
It's
it.
blockchain technology.
So
But if everyone's issuing it, have stable coins without blockchains, you bet it.
yeah, you can do, but look, stablecoin issuers will have to be regulated. They've all got licenses, but there's going to be no problem with there being a. See, so look, this is in the age of checks. Everyone can issue, everyone can receive. You know how many how many credit card issuers there are in the world? There are 16,000 credit card issuers. The smallest bank in the world, can be a credit card issuer. Why? Because they don't have to build their own distribution network. That's what's going to happen in stablecoins. The smallest institution in the world will be able to issue stablecoins, and they'll be accepted into a common distribution network. Oh, that's my business. Sorry. I mentioned it at the end.
So could you give us a small overview of
UBYX. UBYX is a common acceptance network for any stablecoin. That's it. The white paper is on our website. It contains some jokes. You can't be bothered reading it. Put it into your favorite AI. Just say, "Is this good?" Great. Leave it to the AI. I'm not going to talk in shop. Ask your AI.
Who are your biggest customers, Tony?
Sorry?
Who are your early customers, do you think?
Give me a break. I only started the business on March the 20th. We raised $10 million last week, and we will go live in October. Yeah.
I got a question. If imagine that all the fiat currency now been back to those issuers, so they can issue equivalent amount of the stable coins.
Yeah.
And then how it will impact the issuing from the central government when they want to do the controlling
monetary policy,
doing the QE, become more easier.
Tax.
They're going to accelerate those kind of policy to be pushed.
Look, the technology that you use to represent these instruments shouldn't have a dramatic impact on the structure. It's always going to be a multi-tiered financial system with the central bank, the commercial banks, and the fintechs. So it's the same. It's just using a different technology. So this is a very final point, which is very, very deep in humanity. That's my stuff. That belongs to me, right? That's mine, right? This is mine. This is mine. And then when we're savages, this is mine. And then we get legal system. And what's the legal system built around? Property rights. So what's a blockchain? A who owns what machine? Who owns what? So in the case of a stable coin, it's not a who owns what machine, it's a who owes what machine. I mean, your money in the bank is yours, but the money in your bank might not be what you think it is. It just means the bank owes you the money back. But of course it's yours. You've got a contract. The world is made of contracts. You know, people say code is law. It's not. The law is the law. The law is the foundation, and we're building code on top of the law. And a blockchain is a property rights machine. Who are you? Are you a journalist?
What are the three biggest threats to your vision?
The three biggest threats. Like hard questions from audience members. Look, well, people say to me, "You've got a cold start problem." There's no cold start problem because the pump is being primed. Stablecoin pump is being primed. Stablecoins are coming. One threat is there's a problem of being old. So when I look at a stablecoin, And I can analogize that to a traveler's check because I'm old. My first job 30 years ago was in traveler's checks. So I can see the pattern. You have never seen a traveler's check. You've probably never used a check, Harvey, right? So there's a little bit of stepping back from the thing that's in front of our face and doing a little bit of abstract thinking, and then we'll get to the right place. But that's a slight education process. And another problem is it's a very human tendency for people to extrapolate from what they see. So if you see Circle and you see Tether, and then you say, I play that forward, and very sophisticated people, they say, well, we're going to have an oligopoly because we've got two at the moment, it's always going to be two. This is not true. So another thing for pattern matching is there's a very, very good book called One from Many by a guy called D. Hawk, written by the guy that built Visa. If you read that book, One from Many, and every time he says credit cards, you think stablecoins, you see the future. So the future of stablecoins is written in the history of payment systems, and this unfolds anywhere in the universe where you've got promises to pay. It's the same. Anyway, can I go home now?
Is CBDC a threat, or how do you mitigate it, or how do you work with it?
A CBDC is nothing more than a stablecoin drawn on the central bank.
Correct.
A tokenized deposit is nothing more than a stablecoin drawn on a bank. No problem. The mistake the guys are making in CBDC. So here's a question. If you're the government and you've got money, do you send the money to the people or make the people come to the money? You send the money to the people. So the government produces banknotes. So you say to a central banker, why don't you put CBDC on a public chain? Too dangerous. Bad things happen on public chains. Don't we send banknotes to the streets? The argument that public blockchains are too dangerous for CBDC is the same as saying the streets are too dangerous for banknotes. It's nonsensical. So CBDC should be on public blockchains.
So if they put it on public blockchains, how does it affect the circles and the tables? Because now there would be similarities between a government issued versus a private company issued.
Well, who should be able to? Who's the best at product design? Who's the best? People will choose. People will choose between the public option and the private option. Let people have the choice. You have got a choice of the product by the government is the banknote, and the product by the private sector is your card. Which do you choose to use? You've got both options.
I think that's a great way to end.